get these snaps removed as well. And now we're good. We're going to go ahead and now we're good. We're going to go ahead and get everything cleaned up and prepped and ready for installation. First, I'm going to start by vacuuming. Going to use a cordless vacuum here, get all of the crumbs out from everywhere. Now that we're done vacuuming, I'm going to use Windex with vinegar in it and spray everything down real good, especially the edges where we've got most of the crud built up from things that have spilled and gotten to the edge of the carpet. Fold our paper towel here in fours, that way we can flip it around when it does get dirty. Now you want to scrub a little bit and make sure that you're getting anything that could come off. And if you do have any staining that absolutely does not come off, then it's okay. Now if you're not installing Aqua Marine Deck or SeaDek or anything and you just want to clean, this is usually how I clean as well. Just pull the carpets up, start by vacuuming all the crumbs, and then go back with Windex with vinegar, isopropyl alcohol if you want to get additional stains off. So that's about it with the cleaning. Now we're going to go back and clean up all the paper towel crumbs that are left over. Alright, so we've got it all cleaned up. We gave it time to air dry any sort of Windex or alcohol that was remaining on the surface. And I've got the pieces laid out, this one here, and then the two in the front. And since these are already down, these sections, essentially you want to start at one end of the boat and slowly go to the other end. We had a cutout for this service hole, so use that as something to line up all of our different pieces along with the edges on every side. And now that we've got these down, I'm going to use this line straight across here to line up this piece. The way that they cut my pieces, my sections, they touch on the ends. For some boats you may have a template that's cut to where there's supposed to be a gap between them, so make sure you lay out all the pieces first before you start adhering anything to the surface. Make sure that the service hole is centered and you've got a flat surface, the contact surface right here and right here against these pieces, and looks like we're pretty good there. So now that we've got that there, I want to put an eyeball on that end and make sure that everything is still lined up on the edges here, because even 1 degree or 2 degrees of difference on this side will make a big difference on where things line up on the other end. So we've got pretty good fitment there. What I'm going to do is, let me see if you can see it in the camera. So what I'm going to do is peel the adhesive from this edge here all the way out to here, and this corner, the corner over here, and I'm going to stick these down. That way it's in place. Even though the other side has a little bit of wiggle room, there's a little bit of room for adjustment. I'm going to stick these down so everything stays put, and then I'm going to go and check everything on the other end and see if we need to make any adjustments there. If we don't, then we'll start peeling the backing away. And as you peel the edges off here, for some pieces it's easier to make a cut. For some pieces it's easier to just peel it and make a fold, and I'll show you what I mean by making a fold. So we're going to fold this back, and I'm going to make a crease. It doesn't have to be super neat, but a crease right there, just so that that section is out of the way. This section back into position, and don't put any pressure on it because it does stick pretty easily. If it does stick a little bit here and there, you can still lift it up and make adjustments. So I'm going to line this center section up with the service hole and the two edges until we get it right. Okay. Now we're going to lay this section here down. There we go. And the reason I told you to make a crease, if you didn't, there would be a big bump here. So that crease is helping to keep everything flat. And make sure you get good fitment between the pieces, different sections. Every little bit of adjustment you can make does make a difference. So don't cut too many corners if you can help it. All right, so this section is stuck down. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on it here so that I can, if you see there's a little bit of hump where that paper is underneath, I'm putting a little bit of pressure to get all of that to lay down. We're going to come back after we're all done and put lots of pressure around the edges to make sure everything is adhered down real well. So that's put down. Now we're going to move on to the other side. Okay, so now we're here in the front, and this piece you can see is not glued down. The back end is just to hold things in place. And we've got these two other sections, this section here and this here, and there's one more that goes here we'll put on afterwards, but these two are here. And what we want to do is make sure that they line up correctly to where the edges are flush with this guy. We don't want a gap there because, again, this one was cut, this template was cut in order to have a flush fit for all of these pieces. The other thing you want to do is make sure that they're in the right direction. For example, this one here has a cutout that is meant to go around that piece where the fiberglass comes out for the door that goes to the lavatory. So make sure you have all the pieces correct. And this one, it looks rectangle, but it is slightly different on either side. So if you put it this way, you can tell it doesn't fit. So it absolutely goes this direction. And that's how it fits. So we know where that goes. We know where that goes. And we're gonna get, so in this case, I could start with this large piece, get it laid down. I could start with this one or this one. What I'm gonna do is start with this section, get it pasted down, and get it lined up correctly with where this is ending up. Because this, if you see, we have maybe a little 1/4 inch of movement still to where we can make adjustments if we have to. So I'm going to do this section, then the center, then that one. That way we're going from one side to the other, just like we're coming from the back of the boat to the front of the boat. So we'll start on the end that's going to be next to our piece here. Peeled off. And we'll lay this down so you can see. We'll make a crease and we'll put it back, and make sure you've got this one nice and in place. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of pressure on this, nothing hard, just to hold it down so that I can tell exactly where this one needs to be in order to line up. So we've got that there. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on this section. There we go. And now should be able to fold this up, grab the paper, and I'm going to roll a little bit out at a time, not a lot, and try not to pull one way or another as you're letting it down. Let it sit exactly where it wants to, and as you're rolling it down, put a little bit of pressure, and again, pull out another 3 inches or so, and again, pull out another 3 inches, give or take. Okay, we're almost there on this one. Make sure you don't get my butt. And that's the last of it. All right, it lined up really, really well. So now we've got the section in front of the driver's feet. This center section is adhered in the back just to hold it in place. And then the one here in front of the passenger seat is loose still. We're going from one to the other to the other. And so I'm gonna have to lift it up to grab the paper from underneath where we left off. There it is. So we're gonna get a hold of this. And the very corner, if you remember, had an angle there. So you're gonna have a little bit of a bunch unless you ripped it off earlier. All right, so little by little, we're going to allow this piece to just sit as we pull the paper. And I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm going to go back and do that just because of the way this guy fits. Now again, you see there is some room for movement. So before I start peeling the rest of the paper, I want to make sure this is correct. It's fitting where it should be, and then start peeling the rest of the paper. A bit more. I pulled about 3 or 4 inches out. And again, we'll pull a few more inches out. Oh, I just heard a rip. So this little corner, if you see, the paper's ripping right there. So make sure you're paying attention to that as you're peeling the paper up. I'm gonna go back and peel that corner up by hand. There we go. Now it should all come up together. All right, so now we're all the way to this pad, and I want to make sure it goes right up to it. Perfect, and I'm going to pull a little more. And again, before I let it fall, I'm going to put my finger there and make sure that they line up just perfectly. And if you take your time doing this, you're going to get end results that look probably better than professional installations. Because at the end of the day, the only person that cares as much about how your boat is going to look afterwards is you. A little more. Again, let's make sure this is perfectly even. And I'm going to make a rip here just so I can handle this paper a little better. There we go. And we'll get this little last section. I'm just going to peel this corner, not this one yet, just to make sure I have everything lined up here. There we go. And now I'm going to pull this at an angle, little by little, to the other end. And this section I'm going to have to pull up and put down first. There we go. Okay, this section we're going to have to put down first, right here. Okay, right there. And then we'll pull the last of the paper up and get it down there. Perfect, we got all that down. Now we're going to get this side, we're going to get this put down. Actually, one more right here too in front of the driver's feet, the footrest, so we'll get that put down. And start by peeling this side and go that way. That way we've got everything lined up to the pieces where you need good fitment. So we're going to get the edge of it peeled off there just a little bit, just like before. We're going to make a crease right here so that we don't have a big bulge in the middle. Lay it down again. This one kind of slightly goes under there, so we'll make sure it fits correct. And before you start putting any pressure, make sure you got it lined up correctly, and put a little bit of pressure there to make sure, at least for now, we've got good adhesion. And I'm going to lift this guy up. Actually, you know what? I can't lift it up because of this door. So I can't lift it up because of this door. What I'm going to do is unlatch this door, swing it open. That way I don't damage any of the foam. And now we've got good access to lift this without it snagging on anything. So I'm going to lift it up, roll it, and get the paper to peel off, maybe another 3 inches or so. And again, don't force it this way or that way. Make sure you're letting everything sit exactly where it wants to. Again, about 3 inches, 4 inches of paper, lift it off, and we want to push it down a little bit, and we'll get the last bit peeled off and start in the middle and work towards the outside and the corners. Now we've got everything glued down for this back section. We haven't gone through and put any pressure on it yet. I'm going to get Ari, Mr. Cameraman, here to show you how everything fits, and then we'll move on to the other sections. See all the seams line up real well right here. And if you want to turn around, show them the other side right there. Everything lines up real well, and if you look all the way towards the back, you can see that everything lines up extremely well. And part of it is making sure that you're working with a company that cuts the templates real well, like Aqua Marine. And the other part of it is how careful you are during installation. You always want to start at one end and work your way towards the other end, but make sure you lay everything out first correctly, and make sure it all fits correctly. All right, we're going to work on the rest here. Okay, now that we've got the front section down, we need to go back across all the pieces in the entire boat and put some pressure on it. Now, you want light pressure, firm enough to where it feels like you're pushing air bubbles out if there are any. Sure, if you're putting too much pressure, you'll notice that some of the material is starting to curl and feel like crumbs under your hand. And if you're doing that and you feel that, that's too much pressure. So less than that, but enough to get everything pushed down. So you want to start in the middle and start going outwards. Again, start in the middle, go outwards. And then once you get the piece all done, take your finger or your thumb and go across the edge here. Just put some light pressure there. Make sure you've got a nice seal on all of the edges across all the pieces. And then once you do that, you're all done. Heat really helps this stuff stick down permanently really well. If you're in an area where you could leave the boat uncovered outside under the sun, do that for a day or so. Or if you're out on the water, then just enjoy the water and let the sun do its work and get everything heated up. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck on yours. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe and click the notification bell. And if you're thinking about it, I think this is a very easy job to do yourself. If you can find a place with a template or draw the template out yourself, you'll be able to do this fairly easily. The most important part is cleanup, making sure all the residue, crumbs, oils, greases, waxes, everything are off the surface before you start applying any sort of adhesive on there. If you have wax on there, ceramic coat, anything like that, it will not stick well. So cleanup is the most important part, and then getting everything prepped and aligned correctly is also important. As long as you take your time, this is something anybody can do on their own. Good luck and have fun.